This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome. So great to see everybody tonight.
Yeah. So thank you, Hannah. Nice
Yeah,
catch.
thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it's like the 8th of December, and it's just, and it's so weird. It's like the year has flown, but it stood still all at the same time. And so,
Yes. Okay, it's killing me. Tritri, what's your big news?
yeah.
Not killing me literally, but
So I got in with the MS specialist, not the first one I applied to, but the second one, and she's
Nice.
amazing.
yay.
That's huge.
It's Dr. Ann Bass for Hannah's reference, because we're in the same city. And I'm going to be in a clinical trial for Aubagio versus the newer form of Aubagio.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Congrats.
And she told me Aubagio is being used to treat COVID patients right now. So
Really?
it will help the MS and protect me against COVID.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a 3-year clinical trial, and they pay for all my medical visits, all my testing, all my medication. So if I lose my insurance, I'm still good.
Nice.
Wow.
And where is this clinical trial?
In San Antonio, Texas.
In San Antonio. Okay. We saw you like, what, 2 weeks ago? This all happened in 2 weeks?
I missed last meeting
Okay.
because I wasn't feeling good last meeting. So it's been a month since I've seen you guys.
Okay. Well, I feel all like stalkerish, but I was like, oh my goodness, Tritri, so much happened. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
So when do you start the Aubagio?
They're doing all the testing to see where I am now in January, and
Okay.
on January 19th, and then I should start shortly after that, from my understanding.
Wow.
Okay.
That's such a huge deal, the fact that they pay for everything, so you don't have any worries financially to, MRIs, testing, the drug itself. That is so, it just like lifts this heavy weight off your shoulder, just not, and for 3 years. For 3 years, you've got it, unless obviously something happens and they have to kick you out or it's not doing things for you. But, that's like music.
I think what's the cherry on top for this news is that you're getting the better updated version of a drug that's already been out for a while. So it's already been tested. So many people have already benefited from it. And here you are getting the even better version of it. So I think that's even better.
Well,
She's not
I'll
sure.
either
She's
have
in one or the
Aubagio
other.
or the new one.
Yeah, she can get either or. I'm assuming it's double blinded, so you don't know, or the person giving you the drugs doesn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll find out in 3 years.
Yeah, she'll find out. But you know that at least one arm is an active drug. You're not getting a placebo, which is great.
Yep.
I hate those
Yeah,
clinical trials where it's like placebo. No.
Yeah. The doctor doesn't deal with anyone that has placebos in it.
Okay, good.
Wow.
That's really good. Yeah.
Congrats.
And I love the fact that you have this amazing neurologist that you're just like the smile on your face and how excited and it's like, yes, you can. They do exist. There are amazing neurologists out there that you can really connect with versus being like, oh, they didn't get me, they didn't understand me. You're like, yes. So it's so great when you hear someone like has a great connection. Yes.
Yeah, she was so smart. Like, she could just list statistics of modern clinical trials just off the top of her head. All she does is see MS patients. She doesn't do anything else. So she's just completely focused in it. And she's the first neurologist that didn't tell me it's not genetic. She actually told me that it gets worse with progressive generations, which I didn't know. Every other neurologist has argued with me about whether or not it's genetic.
Oh,
Because, again, my mother and my grandfather have it.
that's right.
So, and she was very much like, no, we need to get you, even though you're in the early stages, we need to get you treated right away. The odds are if we don't treat you, you're going to be worse than your mother, which is very scary to me, but also really happy that she's taking me seriously. Patricia, my mother's in a very similar situation to your brother, but she's 48. So,
Okay. She's
just for
48.
background, yeah.
Does she live near you?
She lives up in Massachusetts. I moved
Okay.
6 years ago before she had got into this point. She lives in a nursing home, though. That's really good. It's specifically designed for people with MS that are in wheelchairs, and they have round-the-clock
Okay.
staff. It's a great place.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
Is she on, does the state pay for it or how does she afford that?
The state pays for it. In Massachusetts, they have really good disability services.
Okay. That's what I wondered because we're trying to get my brother qualified, but they didn't qualify him basically because he told them he was independent. But we know better. The rest of us know better, but he told them he was independent. So then and during COVID, they won't go out to visit or see the situation. So we're kind of back to square one because he's not independent and my mother's 88 and she's trying to take care of him, but she's not going to be able to continue to do that. She lifts his wheelchair in and out the car and takes him to his appointments and all of that. It's just very difficult. She's 5'2" and 88 years old. That's too much.
Mhm.
So we're trying to figure out how to navigate all of that, what to do.
Yeah, and is there any chance that you can potentially have the state reevaluate, or is it pretty much
We hope so. We're trying to get them, we're working with an attorney that knows more about that than we do.
okay?
So we're hoping after the first of the year to try to reevaluate, but she said we really need to have more people coming into the home to provide service and all of that to make it look more legitimate, but they're afraid to have people in because of COVID.
Mhm.
So we're kind of walking that fine line because the people we know that have contracted COVID have had therapists come in or they've gone to the doctor's office and they haven't gone anywhere else. And so that had to be where they contracted it. So we don't want them to get it. So
Right.
my mother's very hesitant to even have anybody come in or go anywhere. And so we're kind of between a rock and a hard place because the attorney's saying, well, you need to hire help and get people to come in and do these things. But on the other hand, we're trying to manage it as we can but it's not we can't continue, or my mother can't continue. And I work full time. I can't be there all the time with him. So we're trying to figure out what to do. But COVID has made it a lot harder, to have options or to try, I guess you have to do what you have to do. If something happened to my mom tomorrow, we'd have to force an option, but we're trying to walk that thin line until they come out with a vaccine
Yeah.
that hopefully works.
Can I ask a question? Patricia, where are you located?
In Arizona,
You're in Arizona. Have you spoken to the MS Society and an MS Navigator?
my mother has, I haven't yet, but my mother has spoken to them before and they've gone to MS support group meetings before all the COVID breakout. But they haven't gone recently because, or online because she has difficulty trying to get online.
You might want to have somebody call in and talk to a navigator and see if they can help you try to find somebody to get you some help.
Yeah, maybe I will do that.
It's worth a try.
And
Okay.
do you have like a area agency on aging near you? Like that's here in Michigan where we are, Patricia. We have
Right.
we have something called like area agency on aging. It's for I don't want to say old people because that sounds mean, but it's for people with disabilities or like the aged population where they offer like caregivers or they offer resources to find that. I know what you're talking about, Patricia, because I have a caregiver and she was not directly affected with COVID, but one of the clients that she took care of was affected with COVID and she couldn't come here for 2 weeks. And so Dan, my husband, had to take care of me by himself. And so I know what you're talking about, that rock and a hard place right now. So I was thinking if you could look for like
Right,
something like that.
right. And the problem is he needs more care. Sometimes when he falls, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning because he likes to get up at 4:30 or in the morning and try to take a shower if he can get there and then can't make it back out of the shower or, falls. And we
Okay.
need help then, but most of the people that aren't helping around the clock won't start that early, and that's one of our big problems
Yeah.
too. So we have to call the paramedics at 4:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning to come get him up
Mhm.
and get him where he needs to be. So we're trying to just figure all that out right now.
Yeah.
And the heat seems to be where, in Arizona it gets very hot. This time of year he seems to get a little bit better, but when it's 100 or 120 out, that's what really slows him down and not be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So, but he seems to be a little bit better now. Not always. Some days he's great, and other days you just don't know what is it. Something he ate? Is it something that happened? We just don't know what it is. That all of a sudden his legs won't work at all. So
I can relate.
you all probably know more about that than I do, but we're trying to figure it all out.
Does he is he seeing a neurologist?
Yes, he's seen one. I don't know how good the one is. He had a better one before, but because he's lost his insurance and had to go on different insurance, he lost the one that he thought was really good. And now they're going to one that they don't think is as good with MS or understanding MS as much, which is unfortunate. They tried to get back to the original one, but he can't go to that one because of his insurance. So that's the hard part.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
So anyway, you guys can talk about yours. Does anybody on here have primary progressive other than in the one in Texas, her mother, or do you have that as well?
See, I'm relapsing.
Primary, I mean, most people are relapsing. I guess primary progressive affects only, they said about 15% or less of the MS patients. From my understanding.
To clarify, I think my mom has secondary progressive. I think that's what it's called when it progresses from relapsing remitting to the worst
Oh,
one.
okay.
Mhm.
And that
Okay.
the primary progressive, I think maybe there's one medication indicated for use for primary progressive. I don't know if your brother's on any sort of medicine to help slow down the progression.
Yes. I have my mother on the phone. I just have her sitting here.
It's Ocrevus.
Ocrevus. He's on Ocrevus.
I was going to say,
Twice a year.
Yeah, every 6 months.
There's lots of head nodding because a lot of people in the group use Ocrevus.
Yeah.
He's on that. I don't know how much it really is helping him, but it's hard to say because if he wasn't on it, you don't know how his condition would be without it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but he's on that every 6 months now.
I think
As
that's
far as we know, that's the only medication approved for primary progression.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
I think that's what's cool. It's just we're here, and I'm looking and just how like I don't want to say all medications are represented, but it's like, so Tritri's going to be on the Aubagio, right? Yes. Yeah. And then Rocio, you're on Gilenya, so there's the 2 oral meds. I'm on injectable beta seron. Jennifer's on infusion Rituxan, and then several other then on the Ocrevus. And so look at this, like a party. It's like,
Frank, are you considering going back on medication?
Now, because with the secondary progressive, they're still not saying anything's that good. So, and I'm just I'm treating symptoms. That's simple.
Do you think that anything like precipitated this last attack, or?
Yeah, I do. I got a brown recluse bite last week. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Okay, that's a spider?
Yeah, a brown recluse spider in the middle of the night. And that's what set it
Hey,
off.
Sean,
Yeah.
you want to listen to it? Maybe I should. Patty, I'm going to give this to Tom, the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an experience. I really have not been that weak ever. I mean, it was like every night I couldn't even get in bed. I couldn't transfer from the chair to bed. Down on the floor I'd go. And I could not, and I've always been able to, okay, if I go down because I'm tired, just rest for 10 or 15 minutes and I can get up and go. I couldn't get up off the floor for anything. No way in the world. I had to have my brother-in-law and sister come in and pick me up and put me in bed 3 nights in a row.
wow.
And how long ago did the spider bite you?
It was the first of last week.
Wow. And are you stronger now?
Yeah, well, they put me on mega doses of prednisone, and things are really coming back. I mean, I can tell my stamina is not quite back to baseline. My strength is back where it was, but my stamina, I can still tell that I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting better. I can't complain.
Considering that it's only been about a week, I'd say that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I'm still on the high dose. I haven't started tapering off at all. I'll start tapering off on Friday. So,
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Where's Rocio from? Rocio, where do you live?
Oh,
She might be on mute. She said Mexico.
She's in Mexico? Okay.
Yes, I'm not sure where, but she said Mexico.
Okay.
Well, I have some good news too.
Yeah.
Well, I took my annual MRI, I think like middle of last month. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was beginning of November, and I got the MRI results, which I always look forward to seeing. And not only did it say that there are no new lesions, which I expected because I didn't feel anything bad, but although I do know that you can get problems without having any lesions and vice versa. But it also said that some of my lesions were improved too, meaning some of them had actually shrank quite a bit, and some of them weren't even there. So I feel like I want to know, what am I doing? that's right. What am I doing right? And
wow.
how can I keep it up? Because that was fantastic news. I was like over the moon when I heard that.
Oh, that's
Yay.
huge.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing.
Being amazing, of course. Hello.
It's got to be all the art that I'm doing. It's got to be that.
I don't think the art is hurting at all. I mean, seriously, that's probably like a great relaxer, stress relief, just
Yeah.
Allowing
Yeah.
yourself to be creative.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, but not that not saying that that's with it, but yeah, I was super, super happy about that when I heard it.
Okay, that's really,
That's huge. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Has anybody ever noticed anything with diet, or have any doctors, has anybody talked to any doctors that are more on board with any dietary effects on MS? Or not?
Well,
Just curious.
I was on what's called the Wald's Protocol diet for a little bit. I think I lasted for 2 months or so before like I figured out that the full version of the diet was too much for me. I couldn't keep up with it. But after that, I just sort of like I cut out preservatives in my diet. I cut out dairy in my diet, and I basically didn't really eat much of or any of either of those things. And I mostly just ate like paleo-ish, I should say. For a long time, I was like that, and I didn't have any doctors that said not to do that kind of thing. They basically just told me to eat a well-rounded diet is what they always said. But I did find that when I was on the Wald protocol, I felt fantastic, but I just couldn't keep up with it. It was too demanding for me to keep preparing my meals that way every single day. So I began a more relaxed approach, and I found that that's helped me best. I haven't kept up with it since COVID, but nothing's hurting me right now, so I feel okay. But even
I'm
now, I
just
still
curious.
get. Mhm.
I was going to say, I'm curious because I have, and my brother, but his symptoms aren't that bad. It's something called Crohn's disease.
Mm.
And no doctors have talked too much about, you hear about diet and different people impacted. It just makes me wonder about all diseases because my daughter's boyfriend's mother has Crohn's, and we heard there's no cure. There's no cure. They don't know the cause yet. But she has eliminated all dairy, all sugar, all alcohol, I think meat. There's certain things she's eliminated. And because she's eliminated that, the doctors now see no signs of her disease. And I've not heard of anybody.
Wow.
And even I go to gastroenterologists I've gone to for, 25 years. And it just seems like it's kind of new that newer to, the doctors really looking at how certain people with certain diseases, if you change your diet completely, but a lot of it is very hard to follow. Like I would rather someone just fix me the meals and say, this is what you need to take. I'm not good at determining that myself. But they do say no processed foods. I could follow no processed foods, no dairy, then to follow everything else, and find something to eat. But I just wondered any diseases, across the board, how much of an impact the diet may or may not have.
Well,
And I think
you're
it's,
right.
even though doctors have been studying it for a while, but it's even more newer now.
I believe it or not,
But
I oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. My computer is kind of lagging a little bit, so it kind of seems like you're stopping there. So I'll go ahead and speak, but I think it's lagging. But what I was going to say is that I actually have been to a gastroenterologist before who was very big on dietary changes and eating anti-inflammatory foods. And that doctor, I I went to him for some MS-related gastro problems that I was having at the time. But I had also talked to him about some IBS problems that I'd had too, because I do also have IBS, and it was just plaguing me for the longest time before I had MS, and even through those times when my MS was at its worst. And he talked to me about the importance of not only eating healthy, why you should do it, why some foods are bad are worse for you than others, but he would explain to me why a lot of it had to do with inflammation too, is what he said. And so I think he talked a lot about ginger. He talked a lot of, which we've talked about too before here. So ginger, I think, and turmeric, and a few other things as well. But he did also mention to me to try eliminating dairy out of my diet. For me, it helps a lot for me.
Right.
But I do find it interesting that other gastroenterologists actually don't talk about diet and the role of diet, because it is something that
And
was brought up.
mine talks about it some, but like for me, I can't eat a lot of fresh fruits or vegetables. I end up in the hospital. I mean, which other people, my husband says, well, I thought you were supposed to eat that. And the doctor said, well, you can, she can't. Or I can't have too many of them. Or they have to be really chopped up or blended. I mean, if I have like 3 days in a row of fresh vegetables, I end up in the hospital with a blockage. So you have to know your body too. But I'm also curious about, just diet in general for any of these diseases and how, what the impact is. And everybody's different. But knowing, something that I have, that there's a group of people now that have followed a regimented diet, and they are saying that the doctors aren't even finding their disease when doctors will say there's no cure. And they probably wouldn't believe it. But I'm hearing from people that I actually know that said, I have gone back to the doctor, they can't see any signs. So that just makes me wonder the whole new world of, what the impact of, for each individual may be different, but what the appropriate types of foods are for each of us, and how that might help us with whatever diseases we have, and lessening the effects. But anyway, I was just curious about that.
I was on the Walls protocol. I was actually in 2 of her clinical trials, and I was on it one time for over 2.5 years, and it was a huge difference for me. I quit for a while because I got burned out on it, and then I ended up being bedbound for 5 months, and it took me months to get my fatigue better under control. But random things happened, like after I was on it for like a year and a half, I have really bad allergies, especially seasonal in the summer. And I would just went outside and nothing happened. And it was just the weirdest thing. I didn't have to take any antihistamines, any eye drops, nasal sprays, just totally disappeared. And like my left knee, always had a bum left knee from dancing from high school, and pain just went away. So I'm trying to go back on it. I'm not as hardcore because she makes you eat a massive amount of grains. We're not gonna, they say 3 cups, but if you really read it, it's 3 cups cooked, or also known as 6 cups raw. So she's like 9 cups of, she's like 9 cups of veggies. It's really 12 cups, guys. But it was really helpful, but it's incredibly hard to do because you're making everything from scratch. It's expensive because you're trying to do organic, grass-fed, things like that. And you have to stay. It was the biggest struggle was family. Not much of a struggle right now because of COVID, but struggle with family wanting to, go out and eat with me at a restaurant or wanting me to come over and eat. And it's like, I can't eat any of that stuff. But I found it incredibly helpful. Actually, my parents sat me down a year ago, like, you need to go back on the diet. And I'm like, well, that's nice, but it's expensive. Like, no, we'll pay for it. We don't care. You need to go back on the diet because you are having a really, you're not, no. And I'm like, all right. So, but I had to be in the clinical trial because I knew if I wasn't in the clinical trial, I knew I would not be a crappy test subject because all the expenses like Tritri is going to be really awesome when she's on the Gilenia. She's not Gilenia, the Aubagio, because she's be like, yeah, I got to do it, on clinical trial. But, when I was in the clinical trial, I knew I had to eat clean and I couldn't cheat because they were collecting data and stuff. So, but if you want to if you're interested in the Walls protocol, she has a revised edition of the book that came out in March. It's about 30% more than the previous one. But like I said, it's really hard. And like you can get burned out on it really easily. I had to supplement some things with supplements because you're not going to get me to eat prepare organ meats. That's just not happening. But I did feel a lot better. My fatigue went down, my cog fog went down, and then I obviously had like awesome side effects, like my allergies went away, some pain that went away that I was not anticipating. But that was eating, you know, nothing was processed. I wasn't eating white sugar. I wasn't gluten free. I was grain free, no legumes, no dairy, harsh and massive amount of dark leafy greens. And iceberg lettuce doesn't count. So spinach, romaine, massive amounts that a day I had to eat it in a smoothies to get the quantity that I needed. Yeah, but it was very helpful to me. And
That's what I'm hearing, what you're talking about, the Walls diet, the people that I know that said that they've eliminated the diseases, you know, have been on that. But they are very regimented, very, you know, very dedicated to it. It's hard to do.
It's hard to do. And she's allergic to eggs, so she says no eggs, but she talks about the new version, like whether or not to do eggs. But I mean, you don't have eggs, there's a lot of things you can't eat. Because eggs, you put it together. So, but yeah, and that's something that you have to do on there's some places that you can buy food that are Walls compliant, but it's very expensive. That was all my energy went to, was to preparing foods. So, but it definitely, when you have to think about it, how much our food chain has been altered in the last 150 years. You know, what we're growing and how we're processing and all the new chemicals that didn't even exist, you know, a couple hundred years ago. And how is that affecting our body? So.
Right. I think there's something to that. I'm not an expert on it, but definitely something to it.
How is a chemical that's in our food any different than a drug that we get for MS? Like, how do they differ overall? I mean, they do some studies on toxicity levels and things like that, but at the end of the day, you don't know how things are changing your body and a rat anyway.
Right.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, I support everything Kim said. I'm also in a group of MS, and the nutritionist also thinks that way. We must eliminate a lot of leguminous. Meat, she says, cut it off, just eat practically fish. A lot of supplements, omega-3. 6, no, that's bad for us. But I think that your brother, for example, Patricia, well, for everybody, a diet should be individualized. For example, the nutritionist, I couldn't meet her, but she said, cut this. But I'm under my weight. And I cannot cut all those foods because I can even make it on a normal level. So if I cut all those things, I don't know where I'm going. So it should be individualized.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when I was actually doing it, I couldn't eat nearly as much of the vegetables that she told us that we needed to eat. What was it? 3 cups of vegetables?
She says 9 cups, but it's really 12.
9 cups. Yeah, there's no way. I don't have the stomach room for that. So I remember thinking about it in terms of proportions. So I would just eat whatever I was able to in the amount of stomach space that I thought that I had. This is all like thinking subjectively, of course, about how much stomach room I had throughout the day, but trying to fill it up mostly with those vegetables, and I forget what else she doesn't eat, but organ meats.
Right.
So thinking
And I
in
think
that way.
one of the reasons why doctors are not as vocal about nutrition in the U.S. is because in the U.S. they really don't get hardly any training on nutrition. So that's not a subject they do a deep dive. I don't know other medical schools in other countries, but I know in the U.S. it's like something, I can't remember how many hours it was, but it was pretty pathetic. You don't learn about nutrition in medical school.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this then, for everybody who's done it, is doing it and better than me, and I hear everyone talking and, like, you know, getting rid of dairy and sugars and alcohol, and I'm thinking, dude, I wouldn't eat if I eliminated all that stuff. So I guess then it's just a question. I mean, and Kim, to your point, just like, because I'm asking then, so if I were to eliminate all of those the primary food groups in the Dan Digman diet, what would what would the benefit be? And you say, oh well, I did so much better. And Kim, you're saying fatigue and stuff. I'm just like, because I think I'm doing okay. Um, but maybe if I eat better food and actually feel the way I should, I'll realize just how crappy I do feel right now and have just been playing through the pain. But I mean, what are the benefits? I mean, how do you notice or what do you know is different about you? Energy level, numbness, fatigue, what?
You just, for me, you just feel, I think the strive for MS is always to feel normal. You don't need to feel above normal, just to feel normal. It feels amazing. So just to be able
We're
to
all
do more,
about mediocrity in the MS community. We're not
no,
striving for better. We just want to be
but
average.
yeah, I just want to be normal again. And I know, like, one of the things I struggled with, like I was talking last month when I was sick, I couldn't read for like a week and a half. Nothing, not happening. And when I could just do more things, and I was alert, and I could. I mean, that's when I was doing my training for the MS 150 bike ride on my e-bike. There's reason why I was able to do it was because I was eating so amazing for a long time. It's not like something that changes in 2 weeks or like we're talking months, year and a half. Like I think I started in February. Trying to think when I started. And the first summer I still had issues with my allergies, but the second summer allergies went away, which I've experienced seasonal allergies since I was 13. So to go outside all summer long and it just nothing happened was like this crazy. Before I would drive by someone mowing a lawn with the windows up and my eyes would just start, and it started, the eyes would start, watering and things like that and getting all congested. And now I just walk outside, step outside, and it's like, oh yeah, it's a nice day, and it's like, whoa. And
What about you, Hannah? How do the diet changes affect you?
Well, if had I been on it longer, it probably would have been a lot more than just the cognitive and fatigue that was improved. Because remember, I was only on it for maybe 2 months, if even that, and I felt like way better than I had even before I had MS. I just had so much energy in that small amount of time that I was on the diet. And I felt so good. I felt like I could finally like achieve all the things and do all the things that I wanted to, as fast as I could, as fast as my brain would let me. And the uh, cognitive things that came back, I was actually able to form sentences a lot better than I was before, because the cognitive problems that MS had initially caused me were just they were crazy. They were insane. I'm sure all of you guys understand that completely. But for me, one of those problems that I'd had for a while, for a little while, was where I would be listening to somebody and they just sound like gibberish. Like I call it the Charlie Brown effect, and it's like I literally am hearing rah 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 rah, and and that went away. I honestly did not experience it. I have not experienced it ever since that time period went by. Now, I'm not saying that it cured me of that particular problem. I'm not saying that at all. But the fact that I'm able to hold conversations like this is just mind blowing to me. Maybe I
Wow.
should go on it again. We're talking like some amazing good things about it. Maybe I should just go on it again.
And I'm
It's a good time to do after the holidays. After the
After the
holidays, it's a
holidays.
good time to do it. During
Yeah.
the holidays, pretty brutal to start. But if you're not
Hmm.
seeing family anyway, could be good. I know. What was I going to say? I heard the other day, and I could be getting this wrong, but they were talking about different parts of your body how fast they replace. And I think it was the myelin sheath takes 7 years to coat your nerves. So think of you eating really healthy in a certain way for 7 years. If you're giving yourself the nutrition you need and versus the other stuff, like Dr. Walls in her book, she does a really good job saying you have 2 seeds of corn. One's in this luscious Iowa cornfield and the other one's, in a garbage heap. Same DNA, and one grows up and is this beautiful and this other thing just like this really sickly thing. It's like you got to give yourself the appropriate nutrients to put down the right building blocks for your body. That's what she tries to say. And so I think that there's a lot of saying there that, and we thought for many years that our brains don't regenerate or we don't, things you just like it's stuck. And we know now that that's not true, that your brain does do regrowth, but it's very, very slow, but it does happen.
Interesting.
If we could quote you on that, Kim, we could have that'd be the meme of the century right there.
What part? I talk a lot, Dan.
No, that was well, I mean it is. It's just one of those things where it's like anything, it's like you're afraid to start. Or okay, I don't want to lump all you into my insecurities, but it's like I'm afraid to just go all out and cut that. Jennifer looks at me like, yeah, you could cut beer. But anyway.
Now, Dr. Walls does not cut out alcohol, only the ones that I think are grain based.
Yeah.
So I'm not an alcohol drinker, but I know that it's not a total to like zero alcohol. So you can have your alcohol in the walls. But when you look at all these diets, to be honest, they're essentially all the same thing. It's kind of like religion. They're all kind of the same thing at the core of it. And then when they just get a little nuances, So the core of any kind of diet is that you're cutting out all the processed food, all the excess chemicals, all that, all that is the same. And then they all just different, like meat, no meat, dairy, no dairy, and then they just go into specifics. But like if you just eat, like Michael Pollan says, eat what your great grandparents recognize, you should be doing okay, but when you start eating stuff that your ancestors wouldn't recognize, maybe a problem.
Wow.
It's interesting.
So
I would agree. My grandmother grew up in Ohio and lived to be 100, and she ate that farm food, and she never really ate. She didn't really eat fast food, junk food. The only thing, she'd have a little Hershey Kiss, like 2 or 3 every day. But I said, that's it. I think it's that Midwestern food, and she didn't eat fast food and all. It's just a little bit of the farm fruits and vegetables and a little bit of meat, a little bit of everything, but in moderation and just.
There's a lot of great things she was doing. She was eating locally. She was working really. When you live on a farm, that is not a picnic. You work hard. So she was working physically, mentally. She's completely stimulated. I mean.
Well, now she didn't always live on a farm, but she grew up around, farm, fresh food, and we used to go to farmers, market that had all the fresh food all the time on the weekends, and she just ate probably pretty much a healthy diet. Like you said, things, that she would recognize are not things we would all see today, but yeah, I'm sure she ate a much healthier diet than most people today.
And then a lot of our food today, and that's another thing too that's really hard, is a lot of our food is so laden with sugar. We go nutsoid in our culture because we had the 80s where we're like, get rid of the fat. Fat is bad. And so how do you make it taste good? You just pile on the sugar. And then we started the cheap sugars with the high fructose corn syrups, and then it's really hard to find food doesn't have sugar on it, that's on a shelf or in a can. It's really tough, from like pasta sauces to ketchup, like things that you don't think would have sugar in it. Lots of sugar. It's really tough.
Believe it or not, a lot, not all of them, but a lot of buffalo sauces have milk in them. I had no idea. before I stopped drinking milk and eating anything dairy. If you look on the label of a lot of those buffalo wing sauces, they have milk in them. I have no idea why. So throwing that out there. The things that you don't think have certain
Interesting.
items in them, they might. They just might.
So Ricky,
Well, and then I was eating at work. I was chewing sugar-free gum because I thought, well, that's better than I'm not having sugar. And then I found out I was going to the bathroom like crazy, and I couldn't figure out because I thought I'm not eating. Why am I having to go to the bathroom? It's this sorbitol. Then I was reading something for my own disease, and they said sorbitol in the sugar-free gum can give you the runs. So I never knew that. And then I asked my gastroenterologist about that. He's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, well, why don't you give us a list of all these things? I mean, I didn't even know what sorbitol was. But then I went back and read sugar-free gum, the label, and it had sorbitol. And once I cut that out, then that stopped. But I thought I was doing the right thing by trying not to have sugar. But then you don't know what other ingredients are in some of these products that cause problems.
Yeah.
Never heard of.
I think the key is if
Oh.
you can't pronounce them, you're not supposed to eat them.
Yeah,
That's probably true.
that's kind of what
I have
started.
diabetes and, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say that's what started me on that whole diet journey. So if you can't pronounce it, then maybe don't eat it. But anyway.
Right.
So on the artificial sweeteners, a lot of them actually make that type 2 diabetes worse, according to my diabetes doctor.
Oh,
Wow.
it's just, yeah,
Right. I think I've heard that too.
so many. There's just so much to consider.
And so, Rocio, you said something about your like medical school, or did I dream that?
No, yeah, you're correct. I did mention it.
I mean, what kind of medical school? To do what? You want to be a doctor, physician, neurologist?
Well, first we all finish school and we get our title as just general physician to attend family issues mostly. And then we can go and take another test to a residence on us on to specialize. And I don't know if I would like neurology or psychiatry because due also to the MS, I've been dealing with depression for a long time. Reason also why I lost a lot of weight and I cannot regain it. So yeah, I would like, I don't know, I'm between those two, a neurologist or a psychiatrist. But then some doctors tell me like, no, it's too difficult and you cannot do it because you have MS. And then try to limit myself, and I get really angry at those comments.
Yeah, totally.
I love the fact that both of the ones that you're thinking about both deal with the brain. I love that.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just find it really interesting. From the beginning, I didn't know I had MS. I just entered med school, and I knew I wanted to do something with the brain, as you said, Kim. I just find it really interesting, and we ignore a lot of things in the universe and in ourselves and the world. But I think that mind issues, we ignore a lot of them, and we just are afraid of them. So there are many things to discover and to treat.
Yes. Nice. Hannah, I love your cat, and what's cool about that is like you're here and the cat's like right up front and center at the camera, so the cat looks like huge tiger cat. And then, yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
He kind of is a tiger cat. He's trying to get my food right now, actually. My food's on this side, he's over here, and he's trying to figure out how he can cross to get my food. Yeah, he's a good 16-pounder.
That's a good support.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Frank, I'm sorry, did you say your son's name?
My son's name is Brad, and he's got this funny middle name, Franklin. Don't know
Okay.
where he got that.
Probably off a soup label or tires or
be.
something. Well,
Yeah, he
thank,
picked it up somewhere.
yeah. Thank you for joining us and thanks for taking care of your dad. Not that you needed to be taken care of, Frank, but just helping you out when you needed it.
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for anything better. You know, I mean, my brother-in-law and sister were here. They've been in Texas, and they were home last week when this all happened. Thank goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
and they had to go back to Dallas and managed to call him and get a little help because I didn't know how well I was going to bounce back, and I just bounced a whole lot better than I thought I was going to. I was really surprised. Uh,
That's a good thing.
That's
you get
very-
lucky, you get lucky. But I got a question that I'm going to throw out here, if you don't mind, Dan.
Oh, please.
I'm going to ask my son, because he's got all these people with MS that are gathered here. What would he ask a bunch of people that have MS?
Nice.
And I got him. I got him.
Why? You couldn't tell me this before. We've only been in the same house for a few days. Nothing. Hey, guess what? When Dad was diagnosed with MS, my best friend's mom had been living with MS for, I don't know, 20 years
Or longer.
or
Yeah.
longer. So, I saw those progressions. I guess the best thing is just how someone can help, right? Like, I know Dad's he's not going to ask for help. Which was surprising when he did ask for help. That's when I knew when to come out, it was, oh, well, this must be serious because, I think that the idea is just the best way to understand the disease and how someone can help without being not overbearing, but I don't know a good word, just inhibitive, right? Like how you can be good support. What do you need, and how can we not be inhibitive? And then I also the lady that my best friend's mom who had MS, her daughter was then diagnosed about 10 years ago. So I heard you speaking earlier about the hereditary issues with MS. So I really see that, and so there's a lot of things, I guess. Did I answer that right?
Well, that's perfect.
Well, I think for anybody that's got any children, that's our first concern. Okay, can it stop right here? Okay, let's not take this any farther. Let's end it right here. Let's not have any of the kids or the grandkids have to deal with what we're having to deal with. And that's my thing. It's like let's stop it right where it is. Let's not let this go on any further. It's gone into enough people's lives, and we just don't need to have more lives affected by it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
Doris, how you doing?
Yeah.
See, Doris just joined us.
Yes,
Yeah, I was
we
gonna
do
say,
see
Dor-
that. Or just checking to make sure she's not muted.
She
Oh,
said,
are you talking about me?
Yes,
Yes,
hi
hi, Doris.
Doris.
Oh, sorry, I just got on. It was kind of difficult to figure it out, but I think I have it figured now. So here I am. Hi.
Hi.
How are
How
y'all
are
doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
How are you doing?
Oh, kind of. Not feeling too good, and I took my temperature, and it was only 97.9. What does that mean?
That's
You're
normal.
normal.
Okay, good.
Mine a lot of time runs 96, 97. I'm hardly ever 98. That's why when I was a kid, I never had a fear like, oh, you're fine, go to school. I'm just like, oh.
Oh, of course.
So I laugh when I go to places and they check my temperature, because of the COVID precautions. It's like, if I'm sick, I'm never gonna run. Like when I was diagnosed with the flu a couple, 4 years ago or something, they're like, you have influenza A? Because I came back positive, but I didn't have a fever.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm feeling good though, so I'm okay.
That's good.
So I'm still
Well,
trying to figure out. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I'm still trying to figure out how to answer your question, and I can only really say it from my perspective. Um, I'm somebody personally who will also not ask for help at all. I don't. It's just I don't know. Coming from the kind of family that I came from, where everybody does their part to contribute to the household, everybody works very very hard all the time. It's just so hard for me to ask for help. And then seeing my mother or people around me wanting to help me and sort of not uh, not knowing how to ask for that help, um, it was hard. It was hard accepting help from people when I needed it because even at my worst times, I would still reject the help. And they literally had to force it on me. Like you literally they literally told me you sit in this wheelchair because you have to sit in this wheelchair, and let me help you. So for me to step back a little bit was a huge game changer for me. And I really I guess to give you kind of a background on when I actually finally gave myself permission to let them help me was I think last year actually. I was at the airport and at the time was experiencing some really really terrible chest problems like breathing issues and the MS hub. It was so bad that I couldn't even lift anything because I was that weak. But of course, I try to lift my own luggage. That didn't that didn't work well because if you can't get oxygen to your lungs, you can't get it to your brain. So I was having a panic attack, therefore couldn't walk, need a wheelchair. And I think like finally when I sat down and started sobbing in the airport in front of all the TSA and all the people there, finally that was like the tipping point for me when I had to accept their help. But my mom put it in a really good way for me. Um, she she basically told me to let her help you because it's what she wants to do. She's my mother and she wants to help me. And it's basically her way of telling me that she loves me and showing me that love. So that was kind of when I really did step back. And I stepped back for the better because the people around me, the people that love me, they want to show me that they love me. So yeah, I let people help me now. And I will make things known to them. If for example, um, I think the best example would be this summer actually, when my boyfriend and I went hiking, and well we would go hiking pretty often, and here in San Antonio it gets very hot, but I like hiking, so I'm not going to not hike. And so we're out there, and he's always paying attention. So maybe that's one thing you can do is just sort of pay attention. He's always paying attention to how I'm doing, to my walking, paying attention to my breathing, to my stumbling, things like that. And he'll always carry a water bottle for me. He'll always, put ice in it for me. He'll put the ice packs in the freezer ahead of time. He'll put, you know, preparation things like that. He'll do that for me. So, because I forget, and I'm kind of like the person who will just go out and do it, not even think about it sometimes. And I need to step back I either need to step back from that or let people help me and let people contribute what they can contribute towards my health if they let me. I took a minute to think about how to word all of that, but that's my 2 cents.
I would say check on me frequently because I fall off the face of the earth all the time because that's just my personality, but don't be a nag.
I do too. Yeah. I get depression. I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but I get depression a lot. And so like on my good days, like I'll reach out to everybody. I'll like talk. But on like the bad weeks, and it's usually weeks or months, I'll just step back. So checking in on your friends is always a good thing.
I think for me, I think the big thing is in any relationship, it's just the communication. And I think that's like with Jennifer and me, it's just like when we first started dating, it's like I always felt like I was the worst boyfriend in the world in her parents' eyes because if we were like eating dinner and stuff and Jennifer would be trying to cut her steak, I would just let her do because we had that agreement. I said, I won't help you until you ask because it's like, because then that helped me to stay away. But then she knew that she didn't need to be a hero, that it's just like, you need to ask for the help. It's not like begging for it, but just like, just let her do this stuff first and then ask me for help. And it was just like, but then it's like her parents kept wanting to step in to cut the meat for or whatever. And I'm just like, that's our deal, but it's that communication and stuff. And I sit here and talk tough because I'm the type of person that doesn't ask for help. And Jennifer gets mad at me because I don't. But I think that's the other thing that I learned at work was just like I wanted to be the superstar and I need to get all my work done and this is my work and I can't let anyone else do it. Well, it's just like I learned that I'm not helping the team at the office if I don't accept other people's help because the end result and the productivity is down if I don't ask for help. It's like you're doing worse for the team if you don't ask for the help. So
Yes. And Dan put a link to an article he wrote about asking for help in the chat box. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows the chat box. Someone who's more technologically
it's a
savvy.
little bubble. It's a little voice bubble at the top. But yeah, I'd written that
Right.
article for the MS Focus MS Foundation magazine, just for those of us with MS, why it's okay because it's just the reality. Um, we need to accept the help because, like you said, Hannah, it's just like that's how you show the love, and it's just like when we ask somebody for help, those we would do the same for them if they asked. So it's just like it makes things better and it takes the pressure off us as people living with MS. It's just like, we don't have to take it, do it by ourselves. Hence, look around you on the screen. I mean, we're all here because we realize we can't do it by ourselves.
And Patricia, if you're still listening, there in the
Yes.
chat window. In the chat window, there's some MS, the addresses for how you can maybe look for the MS Navigator. And that way, maybe you can see if you can get your brother maybe some more information.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I don't know how I lost my picture, but I'm on.
Oh, well, that's good. I personally, when I go to hell later in the evening and I just get tired, I don't literally go to hell. I have to be careful about the way I talk sometimes. But I just am like, get like kind of more mushy. And I'm like, sometimes I wish I wasn't on screen, but Dan's cute. So I have to stay on screen for him. Sorry. So,
Okay, great.
yeah. So was there anything else? Tritri, Rocio, Doris, anything you want to talk about? Anything else? Patricia, yourself included?
Yeah,
Input.
no, I just wanted to comment on Frank's son's question. I think I go through the same things as you. I live with my parents. I got the disease a little bit young, so these through 5 years they've always taken care of me through everything. uh, I'm a very dependent person. I realize about that, but when I go out, when I go to the university, well, I used to go. Um, I try not to ask for help because I didn't want their pity on me. But then I realized little things like, oh, you know what? I might seem like I'm okay, but I need to take the elevator, and but they look at me like you're fine, you don't need it. But it's not my problem. I need it. And if they don't know it, if they don't see it, then maybe that's up to me to let them know that there's a disease that attacks us this way or that way. And I just start believing that it was up to the patients to spread out that awareness that yeah, we look okay and fine, but we need the help, so we should start making that awareness as well. And well, I think that awareness also helps a lot of people and makes, I don't know, new investigations for drugs, because they see that there are a lot of millions of people in the world that need help like us, even though it's sometimes we not want to admit it. But yes, for example, my sister, she's my angel, and yeah, sometimes I have a lot of problems to get the words out of my mouth. I just have them at the tip of my tongue, and she doesn't help me. She knows what I'm trying to say. She knows that word, but she doesn't help me. She doesn't say it. She sees me and she says, "Be calm, be patient. I'll wait for you. I know what you're trying to say. Just wait and you can say it." And probably after 5 minutes, I can say it. But it's just being there for someone. That's just a lot of help. So I think it's amazing what your son is doing, Frank. Thank you.
With Rocio saying that reminded me of, for answer Brad's question a little more, there's a huge difference between sympathy and empathy and compassion. Sympathy does nothing for me. Empathy and compassion does everything for me. So trying to have people understand that is huge.
I like that.
That's a good point, Kim, I think. I just want to add that, I was diagnosed in 1998, and between then and maybe a few years ago, I've been able to travel, and I was able to finally accept my MS, and I knew I couldn't walk through the airport quickly because I couldn't walk fast. I was very slow. So I actually asked to have a wheelchair available when I arrived at the airport. I let them know, and they took me around. And to me, it really saved me a lot of work trying to walk. And I actually enjoyed it. I just kind of, oh, this is like just a little kid in his little chair, and I enjoyed the ride and seeing people go by, and it just was kind of an interesting excursion. So I kind of had fun with it. And I know how hard it is to ask. In the beginning, I didn't like asking for help because I can do it myself, right? And I always thought I used to do it for myself. So I try everything I can. If I can't, I don't mind asking my husband to help, and he knows I have MS. So, and even other people, I might even just say, I can't remember things. I have MS. I mean, things happen, so they understand quickly what I'm going through. Multiple sclerosis, I would say. Not everybody knows what MS stand for. So, so that, I just kind of don't make big deal of it. I just say, oh yeah, that's my MS, and sometimes I can't remember because I can't remember what I just said seconds ago, and I feel terrible, or their names or whatever, and it's embarrassing. So people know me. They get to know me that way. They kind of know that I have something going on. Maybe they'll read about it. I don't know. Sometimes they learn then once they hear about it. And that's how I guess others get educated, which is just be open with it. And I'm always curious. I probably would look it up, which I did. Of course, when I found out I had it, I just totally looked everything up. And the doctor told me, though, that was it was a neurologist here in Newport. And he told me, after examining me, that it was all in my head. In other words, I was causing all these things to happen to me, right? My feet were hurting, and I was tingling in my legs, and when I played tennis, I was getting dizzy, and I couldn't see the ball coming at me. And he says, "Oh, you're just probably because I'm a woman. I don't know sometimes, but it was all in my head." So I came back after studying it online, and I thought maybe I have it, and so I asked him when I went back. And he's, well, I don't know. He says, I could give you an MRI if you want it. And I said, yes, because I'd read about MRIs. I said, yes, please. So I got in there the next day, believe it or not. And it turned out, yeah, he called me weeks later and let me know I was right. So I figured out MS. I thought it was MS or another neurological problem that I was looking at. That's it.
Doris, did you keep that neurologist or did you get a new neurologist?
I definitely went to a new neurologist.
Yeah.
I had to go find one. Yeah. Who knew MS? And it was wonderful finding a good doctor. Dr. Vandenort out here at UCI.
Dr. Vandenort was a magnificent doctor. He really was. We have a lot of friends. Doris and I have a lot of common friends. And Stanley was the chief of neurology at University of California, Irvine. And he was just such a gem to work with.
So then, so then this is the time of the meeting where I threatened to talk about Springsteen. We have nothing else. So
I have something for Princeton.
It's everybody. I'll mention it quick then. Thursday night, Jimmy Fallon, Springsteen will be there, and Saturday Night Live this Saturday. Saturday Night Live musical guest will be Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. So anyway, so this is the time. Then it's like just because we're winding down, but y'all came to the meeting tonight. Say, oh, I can't wait for the meeting because I want to ask a question about blank.
Right, and I do have a question.
Yeah.
And that is about the use of the T cells for the coronavirus, and that they're the memory T cells, that once we've had the virus, do these memory T cells then remember this virus and react in the future? I was wondering about that, T cells, because they, we talk about that with MS.
I think what we know right now is that we don't know how long it lasts.
Right.
Immunity lasts right now. I think that's the question. We don't know if it lasts for 90 days, 4 months, half a year, and definitely that's unknown right now.
That's a problem, right?
Well, let me throw this question out to you. How many of you are going to get the vaccine?
Me?
Well, I found out the other day, we were talking to the MS nurse, and I didn't think about it, but it made complete sense because I'm on Ocrevus. for us to get the vaccine, we'd have to get it like right before the infusion, or else this could be ineffective or something. So I didn't even think about that. The timing, I only could get the vaccine like twice a year. So
Well, I heard that where with MS drugs, I looked into that, and there is one type of MS drug that's not good, and I can't remember which one it is. Do you know, Frank?
Yeah, there are two or three of the newer drugs that they are recommending not to take the vaccine because of the way the drug works and the way your DMT works. This particular drug is messing with your DNA. Okay. And I've got a little problem with that. Not that I won't do it eventually, but I also was in the first round of Tysabri. And I had my first infusion of Tysabri, and then the guy died. And that's when they pulled it off the market. And you know what? That was an FDA approved drug. So I'm a little bit leery about a first guy on, knowing that they're doing something that's never been done with the vaccine, and knowing that there have been problems in the past with FDA approvals. I'm just saying.
Interesting you should bring this up, Frank, because Jennifer, we just wrote about this for our blog exactly because of that. And because Jennifer, I feel like I'm talking to talk, but she was going to take the Tysabri, like it had just been approved. And like a month before she was supposed to take it, it got taken off the market because of that. So then we wrote about that, just like why we're leery of the drug or vaccine specifically because of that. And so, but then we had a couple of doctors reply and give a good perspective on that. So I don't know. I'm leery. But I was looking up because you guys were talking about something with the T cell response, right?
The T cell memory T cell.
Let me break in for 1 second. Patricia, I keep muting you because we're getting feedback from you. So
from me?
Yes. So if you can mute yourself.
Okay, sorry.
That's why I keep muting you. Okay.
I don't know why there's feedback, but okay.
Okay. So when you're ready to speak, just pipe up and unmute yourself.
This was and I don't know because I'm not a doctor or anything. It just, we said T cell and COVID, and I'm just like, oh, they wrote about this on Twitter, but it's like T cell response to the COVID-19 vaccine develops about 4 weeks after the initial dose, similar to the antibody response. Whether that means anything is just talking T cells and COVID, and I'm thinking, well, there's something there. I can send. I'll find the link to the article and just send it to Rick. And when we do a follow up, we'll have that in there too. And I suppose too, for Patricia and Rocio, if you guys want to, I don't know if you submitted your emails, send your email, and then we could send like the meeting announcements to you when we send those out. And I just wanted to check, what's today's date?
Today is.
So our next meeting will be on the 22nd.
Yeah. And we do have Patricia's email, definitely. We don't have Rocio. So Rocio, if you would like to either put it in the chat window, or you can send it to info@ancan.org, or you can go to ancan.org and sign up directly.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm grading it. Thank you.
Yes, I know. I mean, it's been great to have you both on. Well, it's okay. Let's be real. It's been great to have all of you here tonight, but it was been great to meet both of you, and thanks for coming out. Um, and then anything else that you wanted to ask questions about tonight?
Yes, I was, so my first symptom was optic neuritis in my left eye, but now I'm starting to have issues with my right eye and my right ear randomly going out. Does that happen to anyone else? And how do you deal with it if you're like in the middle of something?
I kind of did with my left eye, and I was gonna go. My left eye was on the left side of the eye was getting irritated. I didn't know what's going on, so I'm feeling better though, and I didn't know if it's what's going around. Maybe something, I don't know. Maybe it's in the air, or what does it do in your eye?
My vision will go black, or my hearing will just go completely out for like 5 minutes at a time, and it's just really annoying. Like it was scary the first time, but now it's just really annoying when it happens.
How long does it stay? How does it occur? When it occurs, how long do you have it happen? Or
It will just be sudden, and then it will only last like up to 5 minutes. But it's like between 1 and 5 minutes long.
oh, I let my doctor know about that one, so I can
I would,
say.
I'm with Doris. I would like send your doctor a note or contact your doctor's office. Just because, with you being relatively newly diagnosed, like let's be honest, really super newly diagnosed, just nip that in the bud as soon as possible. If that's like a steroid infusion or something, just so that the doctor is, bye, Patricia, just so that the doctor is aware.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I should just wait until my appointment in January or contact them now.
I think we're all saying contact now. Like as
All
soon
of
as
them now.
possible.
Yeah, see if
Okay.
you can send a message for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the steroids could totally, stop that.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Especially with you
Thank
being
you.
newly diagnosed, I'm sure, you have to be so aware of your body. I remember that first year where you're just like, and I know that you have it in your family, but when it's in your body, you're just really, really conscious of it.
Yeah, every little thing. I'm like, is that MS or is this normal?
And that is so normal. We're all kind of shaking our heads, Tritri, like, yep, we understand. So
Excellent question, Tree. Seriously, like that's an excellent question to ask. But anything that's changing like that, I would definitely never feel like you're harassing your neurologist. Okay, never. Anything that's weird and funky that comes up like that you just shoot them up a little message and they'll get back to you. They're just like, hey, just want to check this one out. Just want to know if it's cool or not. Freaking me out a little bit. All right, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say my very first like year and a half or so, whenever things in my brain were still sort of settling, I would harass my doctor's office. I would literally email them. They have like a really nice email system, so I would email them all the time. Please get back to me right away, please. I don't know what's going on. Help. And they did. So at least they were really good about that. But that is like a really good thing to look out for because it's like what Jennifer said, you are in the beginning stages, so things are super new with you.
I just wanted to do a reflective comment that I was talking to someone the other day about. I was just like, when you think about like MS and all the stuff, and I just like realized, you know how many amazing people I have met because I have MS, and how many people I would have never met if I didn't have MS. And I just to like put myself in that space for a moment, just going, wow. Because like, you know, anything from MS Camp to this group to all these other things, I would have not met so many really amazing people if it wasn't for MS. So when you're needing a silver lining or you're getting down, that's something to think about, going, my God, all those people I would have never met if I hadn't had MS. Amazing.
What is MS Camp?
Oh, I'm sorry. Took me a second. Brain slow there. MS Camp. So right now we have this 12-week thing. It was in person until COVID hit in March, where it's like a 4-hour thing on Wednesdays where we have an MS nurse for an hour, then a speech pathologist for an hour, and then we have a physical therapist and occupational therapist for an hour, and we're just a bunch of us MS people that are in the Des Moines area. And then a lot of times when we're not working with them, then we're chatting amongst each other and getting all this good information. Like I found out about my personal trainer that has the niche in MS that I absolutely love. And another gal in the group started seeing him too. And we're like, oh my God, he's freaking amazing. Would have never known about it if I hadn't gone to this. And yeah. Sorry, I talk really loud when I'm talking. My husband harasses me all the time, like, you need to talk low. I'm like, I'm sorry. I get excited. I talk loud. It's just,
It's awesome.
I
You
just,
make us laugh, Kim, when you do that.
well, I think
we love it.
I think there's a stat somewhere that like toddlers laugh literally 200 times a day and adults like laugh maybe 7 times a day. We're severely lacking. We need to kind of get back to closer to 200. So, and it's my biggest coping mechanism and my sense of humor. So sometimes it doesn't come out in appropriate times, like funerals and stuff like that. But you know.
Kim, I'm the same way. I need laughter, and I do get that. My husband's pretty funny, luckily. He makes me laugh, and we worked together for many years. So we worked with several people in computer operations as a team. So that's where you learn teamwork. And if somebody was not doing well on the team and something happened, snappy, he would say something and everybody would laugh. So that's why I'm so happy to have him around, because I need laughter. It's so true.
For me, I think humor is the quickest way to diffuse a situation. So if you're in a potential, I wouldn't say argument, but a tense discussion with your significant other, and a joke is made and you both can laugh, you're both like, okay, yeah, we can handle this. You know what I mean? You know, it's just like this amazing 180 if you do it right. Most people don't get my sense of humor, which is okay. But some people, like my husband, begrudgingly does get my sense of humor. I don't know if he finds it funny, but he understands where it's coming from.
Luckily, they do. Luckily.
Yeah, but I think it's so important to have a sense of humor. But and that's like, I told my physical therapist, my personal trainer, I'm like, you can't see me because I'm wearing a mask. But my other personal trainer that I had back when I lived in Kansas City, he's like, you're my only client that I have ever that when it gets tough, you bust out into a smile. And I know I need to stop immediately because you have pushed it over. It's like, you're my only client that's ever did that. And then my friend in college, she's like, when you're really stressed out in class, like if an instructor decides to just definitely just start pounding you, I start laughing, smiling and stuff. And she's like, oh my God, you were so stressed out, Kim. I'm like, I know I was, but no one else gets it because I'm laughing, I'm smiling, but I'm like super stressed out. But that's how that's always been my coping mechanism. And it works pretty well for the most part. You know, can't crack jokes with a lot of people if you don't know them well. I mean, there was my Viagra joke that I could use with some customers that I loved. That was it, and the people did really appreciate it. But yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I know. There are things that I would be afraid of saying, jokes I would be, instead of except in front of my husband. I wouldn't say it to anyone else. You know, we could joke together, but you can't really say it to anybody else. But I think Frank knows. He knows Bill pretty good. You guys really had enjoyed.
Yeah, Bill and I got along fine.
I wish I was that witty person that has those great comeback. I've never been that person, but man, do I love to be one of those people. Or my husband and I, we love watching comedians. Obviously, that's not happening right now with COVID, but just to be able to see and just go, oh, I wish I had that talent. That's just amazing. I would, you know, one of those crazy, like, what are one of your weird dream jobs? To be like stand-up comedian, but like I couldn't do it because they all have to do this late at night, and with MS, that's not gonna really work. You're like, can we do it at like noon? Does noon work for anybody? You know, can't be a stand-up comedian with MS. You want me to go at 11 o'clock? Are you kidding me? You know, I can't stay up that late. My brain's gonna be all wonky. It's gonna come out. You just this random, you know, salad. No, not happening. But
I'm the same way, Kim.
and
I'm
I
like,
have
coffee, sure. Are you sure you want me to be there that late? What?
my sister-in-law's brother-in-law is trying to be a stand-up comedian, and I'm like, I would love to see you, but because of MS, it just does. This is pre-COVID. I just can't. There's no way I can go to the shows. They're too late for me. Someone's gonna, at the very minimum, someone's gonna have to drop me off and pick me up because I'm not gonna be able to drive.
Nice.
Well, you can have some coffee. Just have a lot of coffee.
Me and caffeine do not mix. We are not good friends. I wish me and caffeine were tight, but caffeine does not like me. And so
Yeah, it can hurt your
stay
stomach
away.
sometimes. Yeah.
It's not my friend. I wish it was.
Well, wait for it.